listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.
What up, what up? Peace, family. Welcome to another edition of the Narrative Podcast. The Narrative Podcast is the home of original people peace, original people reciprocity, and original people positivity. The Narrative Podcast promotes positive reinforcement of original people and original people culture. The Narrative Podcast provides positive frames of reference about original people and original people culture. Welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Welcome all my narrators. I'm your host, Halsey Allen. How's everybody doing on this wonderful Wednesday? It's hump day. So yeah, winding down. This is pretty much, the last few weeks of summer. Our next week will be technically the last week of summer because, everything's back to the, back to the grind. Children are going back to school. All that type of stuff. Some parts of the country was last week. I don't know if they're still going to have Zoom options. I don't know. It seems like every other semester, it's like they let them come for the first week and then shut back down, and then they have to do Zoom, and then pretty much all the way up until second or third week of fall. And then it's turn around in the winter break. But anyway, welcome to the Narrative Podcast. Got a really good show for you this evening. This is a weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. For those who don't know, I broadcast during the week and the weekdays. I have two, separate formats. This is the weekday format. And then you just gotta tune in on the weekend to see what's the difference between the two formats. But anyway, before diving into the content, all my narrators, they're my target listening audience. They already know what my content is all about, and they already know, what I'm going to be presenting and how I'm going to be presenting. But I'll give a brief overview to familiarize new listeners to my platform before diving into the content. So that's what I'm about to do right now. Just going to give you a brief synopsis of the Narrative Podcast before diving into the content, just to bring you up to speed. So starting off at the top, Tippy, the name. My podcast is named the Narrative Podcast because I don't like the false narrative that the media weaves about original people and original people culture. So to counter that false narrative that they weave about our people and our culture, I designed this platform, and with the intention on playing up our people's strengths and celebrating all our accomplishments and everything we're doing right, as opposed to everything we're doing wrong all the time, and the way they intentionally misappropriate our images and our likenesses to push their agenda. So that's why I'm doing this podcast. It's basically to counter that. And the takeaway I want my listening audience to get, my mission statement is to bring awareness to the listening audience of why it's important to responsibly use your media platforms to, share our images and our likenesses, and also to encourage the listening audience to responsibly use their platforms to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. Also to inform, educate, and of course entertain as well. So next order of business, I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators. I refer to my target listening audience as my narrators, basically to acknowledge the times that we're living in. We're living in the digital information age. We got information at the touch of our fingers. We gather information. We network and socialize on, social media. And for the business owners, they pretty much they occupy the space to sell product, to familiarize the people with their brands and their services. But whatever you're on social media for, or whatever you're using digital platforms for, all digital platforms pretty much have a bio section, and in the bio section you're briefed about the person that the page belongs to. They're basically just summarizing their hobbies, their interests, what they're into, their tagline. Essentially, they're painting out the best version of themselves, and then they're accentuating, what's in the bio section with the type of content that they're uploading, so you get a broader sense of, who they are as an individual, and you can, make a judgment on, how to interact with them, or if you want to interact with them at all. So, point being is they're putting out the best possible version of themselves. There's not too many people online putting out bad, images and likenesses of themselves. Like, I'm gonna pick on the ladies for a second. Like, women, they do about 1,000 selfies before they find that one perfect one where the lighting's right, where they feel they look the best, and they'll share that photo with them. They'll show that photo of them with the world. So, said all that to say, everybody that occupies a digital space shares the best possible version of themselves. They're telling or narrating their own stories. And I feel as a people, we should, follow that same philosophy. We should tell or narrate our own stories about ourselves. We should be putting ourselves in the best light as possible, because the media intentionally vilifies us, intentionally makes us look downtrodden, disenfranchised, unintelligent, violent, lazy, quick to anger, quick to quarrel, overly loud, overly boisterous, all that, the usual suspects, how we're portrayed, on all forms of media, in movies, in television, in books, periodicals, advertisements. There's just this negative dark cloud looming over our people, and this is like, they go out of their way to present us, our images and our likenesses, in that manner. So, while we can't control, what the media is putting out about ourselves and our people, we can, on, living in this digital information age, we can control, our own content, because essentially we're all content creators. You're walking around all day with this, handheld device, and, laptops and tablets. You can, paint your own narrative out of, your life. So why wouldn't you want to paint out the best possible version of yourselves? Why wouldn't you want to paint yourself winning, being a pillar of the community, giving back, being a problem solver, being a leader, being an entrepreneur, being a change maker, being, something great instead of something foul. That's what that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators, just meaning we need to tell our own stories, because if history hasn't taught us anything, it's taught us this. If you don't tell your own story will be told for you. And that's precisely what the media have been doing. They've been telling our story from a warped, foul, perception. So we need to take our essence back and, focus on telling our own stories. And, the digital space is the best place to do it. You can control your own content, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook, whether it's Instagram, whether it's whatever, platform you're active on. You should be, sharing positive stories about your people and your culture, and definitely positive stories about yourself. So, just basically, longer story short, just speak life over yourself, speak life over your community, by sharing positive frames of reference about your people, your community, and yourself online, as opposed to, feeding into the negative stereotypes by regurgitating, these negative stereotypes and the negative stigmas that the media places over us. The last thing we need to be doing as a people is playing up, gang culture, gun culture, acts of criminality of any kind, selling drugs, using drugs, alcoholism, pimping, just, lewd, crude acts, like for women, the last thing you want to be doing is playing up the angry black woman stereotype. Or the last thing you want to be doing is playing up, thought culture, whore culture. You don't want to be, regurgitating that online and laughing at it, thinking it's funny or whatever. You need to be, the face of femininity, sophistication, elegance, refinement, everything that a woman should be. That's what your, aura should be online. And for us guys, we don't need to be playing up the thug, the gangster, the pimp, the absentee father. We need to be, playing up more about what we should be as men, which is to be the anchor, to be, the seed giver of life, the protector, the ruler, the king. This is what we're supposed to be online: strong, able-bodied, mentors, wise, intelligent. This is what we need as men. We need to be projecting. We don't need to be regurgitating, the gunslinger, the lawbreaker, the corrupter. We corrupting children, we corrupting our women, we corrupting society. So we need to just be focused on doing the complete opposite of the way the media portrays us as. So that's why I call my target listening audience my narrators. Next thing you need to be aware of: this is a time-sensitive platform. I try not to exceed 1 hour per broadcast, and the purpose of me doing that is basically to, cover a wide array of topics, and and then also prevent myself from rambling and ranting and being redundant. So this is just a basic way to make my points clear, concise, and to the point. And then also, I want to keep the listening audience attentive. Last thing I want to do, especially since this is an all audio platform, I don't want to bore you to sleep. So, like, I can't, reel you in with the content if I'm losing you, if you're trailing off, like, because I keep on just rambling and not having clear points. So, that's never the point of this. It's just basically to educate, inform, uplift, enlighten, and bring awareness to, also to, entertain as well. And then next thing I want to discuss, or next thing you should be aware of, the Narrator Podcast is a positive space. I don't engage in any gossip, slander, name calling, degeneracy, like none of that. None of those negative stereotypes and stigmas do I play up on my podcast. I definitely don't entertain gossip. I try to, steer very clear of it, and advise, my listening audience to do the same. I feel negative gossip is what's, tearing our community apart. We're not responsibly using our platforms because, this digital information, this social media, it can be an actual tool. It can be a building tool if you use it correctly. We can network and, do so much more for our communities if we all have, a positive intent behind it. But if all you want to do is, get on social media to clown somebody, or, down talk somebody, or, spread lies and rumors about someone instead of just going to the person, then you're a part of the problem. So, that's why I just try to, keep this a positive space. Then not only that, to just be the space where I'm giving our people positive reinforcement, celebrating our accomplishments, because we're constantly being bombarded with negativity all day in, all forms of media. We're very seldomly celebrated. Like, I think probably Good Morning America, they have little 1.5 to 2 minute segments where somebody from our community is doing something positive, for the world. And it's usually like cooking or something food related, like somebody got a brand new recipe or selling some lemonade or something like that. But it's very seldomly they invented something or they did something. But that's a shame that we only really like the positive platforms to tell positive stories about our community are so far and few in between. So I'm definitely trying to bridge the gap by being, an alternative, something positive to listen to rather than to absorb negativity. Like, we get enough of that. There's plenty of mediums that just promote gossip and negativity, and, now don't get me wrong, like, there's a market for entertainment news. People like being informed about celebrities for some odd reason. Like, if you're a fan of somebody, you want to know what your favorite, celebrities, kind of get a better sense of who they are as a person. I guess that's why I'm guessing that's why people enjoy, watching entertainers, be interviewed or whatever. But, it's corrupted because, they quickly go left because then they start talking about other entertainers. So that's becoming a new a real nuisance within our community. We can't just like get on the show and just, big up and salute everybody. We gotta get, suckered into, talking bad about another celebrity. I mean, I get it. Everybody wants to tell their truth, and you should tell your truth, but just my own personal opinion. I don't think you should get on somebody else's platform to tell your truth. If you got an issue with an individual, like keep that on your own platform, like keep that on your own, Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. And, they can respond to you on that platform. Because if you go to an open media and then just get the airing out dirty laundry, that opens up a whole jar, a whole nother avenue. So, but anyway, I got a little long-winded. Basically, what I'm trying to say is the Narrative Podcast is a positive space. And, I promote positivity, promote and endorse positivity, and just try to really focus on, positive reinforcement and just, sharing what our people's doing right as opposed to what we're doing wrong all the time. A sub point that I want to tack on to that is, I do commentary on here as well. So when I'm commentating on, people within our community that's trending, and it's usually for something negative. If I say a famous person's name, it's not to bash them or, join in on efforts into, smearing them. It's basically just the way I tackle current issues. I basically try to frame everything up from the bigger picture scenario. Like, why we can't blame society for all our faults, why we can't blame, the government or air quotes the white man for everything. A pretty much like good 80 or 90% of all the negative things that happen within our community is due to, systemic oppression and also being programmed and conditioned by the powers that should not be. So like, it's basically like psychological warfare at its finest. And, because you're a celebrity, that doesn't make you exempt from, these social problems. So when, a celebrity or, someone famous with a polarizing platform is engaged in something negative that's currently trending, it can really kind of be traced back to systemic programming and conditioning and, systemic oppression. And they're just really just setting them up for failure by, putting them into an environment where, the programming will kick in. So like we're programmed to be pitted against each other. We're programmed to see ourselves in a negative way. We're programmed to negatively react, respond, and interact with one another as a people. So, about 90% of all beefs and, when celebrities within our community are going through something, it can really be kind of traced back to that. And that's how I usually generally unpack it when it's trending in the media as far as we're concerned. And then I also speak on, other topics, national topics, national headlines, global headlines, and then things just, specifically out of our community. Now, having said that, about keeping this a positive space, this is a platform of truth, though. If I do feel, somebody from our community is intentionally playing up these negative stereotypes and stigmas for personal monetary gain, making a fool out of, our entire community just to line their pockets, then I will say something about said individual. But other than that, this is a positive space. I really try to celebrate our accomplishments, play up everything we're doing right, and encourage, the listening audience to responsibly use their, digital platforms to tell our stories, or, network, or whatever it is you're going to do online. Now, I just want to make a little disclaimer, like, this podcast isn't about caring or trying to educate or enlighten people outside of our culture. Like, you can't change a made-up mind. However they was raised, that's just how they're going to perceive us. So I'm not trying to, seek validation or win people over, trying to convince people outside of our culture, we're good people. This is basically, a tool to put out the correct story about us as a people. Like, if you're going to tell our story, tell it correctly, tell it from the perspective of who we are as a people. And who we are as a people is that we're kings and queens, gods and goddesses of the universe. That's how we should always be portrayed. That's how we should always be presented, in across all media platforms. Not, all this foolishness and the way they portray us. We shouldn't be our images shouldn't be portrayed like that. Like, yeah, we got a sense of humor. We know how to laugh at ourselves. We know what's funny. Some of our nuances, what's like hilarious within our community. But then it's a thin line between, are you laughing with us, or are you laughing at us? And most of the time, they're laughing at us. So, got to stop that. But yeah. So the Narrator podcast is a positive space, for our people, just a positive alternative, as opposed to, the 24-hour, 7 days a week negativity we receive by, which, by the way, is a form of psychological warfare. It's a form of psychological attack. Like I said, it's systemic programming and conditioning. They're feeding us these negative images, this negative audio. I believe the clinical term for it is called trauma conditioning. That's what they're doing to us as a people. They're trauma conditioning us with all this negativity that they show us all day, every day. And it takes root in our subconscious, and then on our subconscious level, we are at a subconscious level kind of act it out in real life. And then it not just in our community, but people outside of our community, like, oh, that's them people, they act like that, and oh yeah, I don't want to like one of them, associated with them. You know what I mean? So, like, that's how they do us. And that's why I try to keep this space as positive as possible. Okay, last but not least, I refer to our people as, original people on this platform. I refer to our people, black people, Negro, whatever, you're conditioned to refer to us as, people, possessing the Negroid gene, descended from Africa, or, whatever the case may be. On here, I refer to our people as original people. Number one, first and foremost, it is, the most accurate term to describe us from the historical perspective, because we were and are the original people of this, world. We was here first. Not only was we here first, we pretty much invented everything you can think of, everything under the sun. And then all civilization was spawned from us, from our seeds. who was the original beings of this planet. The first skeleton was found in Africa, and it was a fully erect being. So, to dispel that false narrative, we didn't evolve from monkeys. We wasn't dwelling in caves, and who was already highly intelligent, civilized, advanced. We pretty much mother and father civilization. Everywhere we go, we brought enlightenment and education. That's all we ever did for this world. We never took nothing. We never stole anything. We never forcefully imposed our will upon people, try to make other people pray to our gods or believe in things we believe. We just put out the information, people that was curious, well, what about the stars? What about, what is this called? This is called science. This is called math. This is called astrology. This is called astronomy. That's our presence in the world. Original people. We was the original inventors, original architects, original teachers, original philosophers, original biologists, everything. We did everything. So, that's why I refer to our people as original people from the historical perspective. And then one little sub point that I want to tack on, being original people. So if we was here first, does it not stand to reason that we didn't, inhabit every corner of the globe? Because there's this false narrative that keeps on getting pushed about our people that want to make slavery the most definitive era of our existence. And while slavery was real, it did happen. We were enslaved in parts of Africa. We were enslaved in chattel slavery. We were enslaved in the diaspora, but it wasn't the most definitive part of our existence. We was rulers. We was rulers thousands of years before slavery. And having said all that, we didn't get to all these other places in the world on slave boats. It was already indigenously located on pretty much every continent of the globe. There was already a large concentration of us everywhere. As a matter of fact, not only was we was there first before everybody else. Because like I said, everything came from us. So that's a false narrative that they keep on trying to spin, especially here in the Americas, that we're all from Africa. All of us did not come on slave boats from Africa. The majority of us was already here. They simply just, the colonizers that, air quotes, discovered this land, enslaved the original indigenous people of this land, put us on slave plantations, made us call ourselves something different, made us call ourselves black, Negro, or niggas. And, it was already here. Like, if you know, you know. Our roots started in the Carolinas. For the ones that was already here. Some of us did come on slave boats, but it's just a false narrative about how long it went on and, where. It don't even make sense if you just use critical thinking. Do you really think Europeans and Spaniards and all those involved in the slave trade just kept on going over to Africa, just one source, to commandeer one specific type of people from one land? It doesn't even make sense. Just for hundreds of years, they just kept on going back getting slaves. What makes more sense is that they enslaved the people, whose lands that they colonized. That makes more sense. On the critical thinking and on, if we're talking economics. Does that make sense that they're paying them money to go all the way to Africa, where it's just like people right there that they can just impose their will on? But I just want to point out that fallacy, and not to say, claiming your original indigenous roots doesn't mean you're ashamed of being from Africa, or ashamed of the notion that we're from Africa. It's just saying we was here first. Like, we was we can trace our lineage back to Africa, but we came over here on our own free will from Africa, and many other places, we inhabited. Like, Italy, Asia, Europe, Spain, like all the Spanish-speaking territories you can think of, Spanish-speaking nations, Brazil, like North America, South America, Central America, Asia, Central Asia, Germany, Russia, France, all the islands was already there. Hawaii. Like, I can just keep on going and on, all the places we was already there. Like, any place you can think of originally, like, all you ever got to do is look at the statues, look at the paintings, and you will see, our characteristics. Any complex artwork or complex statues or architecture, like, at the wonder of the world, like, how did they build that? Who was responsible for this? It was us. We built it. Like, all the 7 wonders of the world, like, we built it. Because we was here first. We had divine ancestral knowledge. We invented, mathematics and science and all that. And then on the second part of why I refer to our people as original people is to unify us as a people, because we are so diverse. There are so many different types of us, hailing from so many different land masses, believing in so many different things, speaking so many different languages. Us identifying ourselves, differently. But we all have some, similar characteristics. We all, have some common bonds that tie us together. We all possess high concentrations of carbon, aka melanin. We can all trace our lineage back to the original point of origin for all civilization. Now, there's a debate where the original point was, what was it originally called, and where was it originally located. That's a debate in the intellectual community. But wherever it was, we was there first. And then also, we all culturally have unspoken bonds. Like, we can look at something and just know, no matter, where you grew up at, how you grew up, just certain things within our culture, we just know we have an unspoken bond. We're connected in that sense. And then we all have our own, we all have pride about who we are as a people as well. As much as our pride tries to get tarnished and trampled by, the media, we still like love our people, and we still, represent our people wherever we go, and you know, we still try to stick together, no matter how much they try to pull us apart and turn us against each other. But we got that in common as well. So that's why I try to refer to our people as original people on this platform. So now you're acquainted with all the nuances of the Narrative Podcast. Anything that you're gray on, hazy about, over 300 episodes in, you can just go through my episode log and bring yourself up to speed. Just download all my old episodes wherever you get your podcast information from, as well as this one. As soon as I'm done uploading it, download this episode and all previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Without any further ado, I'm going to dive into this episode of the Narrative Podcast. This is a weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast, and all my weekday editions, well, like I said, I'm here to exist, to share positive frames of reference about our people and our culture. And during the weekdays, my positive frames of reference are positive news articles. And the purpose of me sharing positive news articles is basically to, counter how we're being portrayed in the media. They always want to show us downtrodden, disenfranchised, not living well below the poverty line, and just having a hard time in life, engaged in some type of criminal activity. So, like I said, when they do that, that's a form of psychological programming and conditioning. So, that's why I share positive news articles, is basically put out the positive frame of reference that we are capable of excellence. We triumph in the face of adversity. We lead, we educate, we impact, we uplift, we overcome. And, that's what the purpose of the positive news article is, just to uplift, inform, and inspire the listening audience. So without any further ado, first positive news article this week here on the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Howard University grad made history by becoming the first black woman to be a U.S. Air Force Thunderbird. And for those that are unfamiliar with the Thunderbirds, what they are is just basically like stunt plane pilots. They do stunt tricks, aerial tricks, Top Gun type stuff. They just basically do loop-de-loops and all that tricky aerial stuff. And so, it's a good show. I've been to a couple. It's a regional thing. Some places call them Thunderbirds, and then some people call them Blue Angels. There's another one called the Blue Angels. I'm more familiar with them. But so yeah, that's like stunt pilot type stuff. They are former military, they're Air Force people, but they do they do aerial stunts. So the sister's name is Captain Remishay, if I'm pronouncing her name correctly, Remoshay Nelson. She grew up in Douglasville, Georgia. She's a HBCU grad. She attended Howard University's ROTC program. She majored in speech communications. After college, she joined the Air Force, and then, of course, went on to become a Thunderbird. Thunder. Thunder. Thunderbirds. Ho! Nah, just kidding. But yeah, like I said, the Thunderbirds were are a stunt organization, a military group that like does aerial stunts for civilians, and so that's why they exist. And our sister was the first female and first sister to become a Thunderbird in history. So that's a definitely defining moment. Let's clap it up for our sister, Captain Ramisha Nelson. And before I go on any further, I just also want to take time to acknowledge the untimely passing of the founder of the famous Amos cookie brand, brother by the name of Wallace Wally Amos. So the brother passed away on, I believe, yesterday, August 13th. But it's just now really making headlines because they didn't know the cause of death and all that. But apparently he was battling with dementia, and he was in his final stages of that, so he couldn't do a lot for himself. And then ultimately he lost that battle. But it's an unfortunate passing because he was an entrepreneur. He also was, originally a Hollywood agent. He booked a whole lot of top tier celebrities and recording artists from our community in Hollywood. He was a HBCU grad. He got his first gig in Hollywood, pretty much booking celebrities. He attended school to basically like a trade school to learn how to type and stuff, to become a receptionist, and then after that training, which kind of stumped me because I thought they gave you trade skills in the armed forces because he was in the armed forces as well. But the article went on to say, he got his, he went on to, trade school to become a receptionist. Booked his first gig in Hollywood, booking acts like, Marvin Gaye, and other acts, and just subsequently, Marvin Gaye was one of the first people that gave him. He did crowdfunding for his cookies after, about 5 or 10 years doing the agent thing. Gave him, him and 4 or 5 other celebrities, gave him the capital he needed to start his cookie business. He had a brick and mortar location and, transformed the snack world as we know it. His brand is still top tier today. Famous Amos Cookies. It started in the 70s and just went on. It became a phenom, synonymous, with our culture, our people, Because I remember moving from the Midwest to the South in the 80s. So it was a whole thing. Amos Cookies was a thing. It was everywhere. It was in all the vending machines. Candy ladies, big down south. The candy lady, all the candy ladies had at famous Amos Cookies. They had either the big one or the little pack with the little mini ones. So, It was our version of Chips Ahoy. But yeah, his legacy lives on. He's gone, but his legacy lives on. He was 88 years young when he passed. So yeah, I can see a bio film coming up soon. If they did one about McDonald's, I know they got to do one about Famous Amos. He was definitely sketched in the books. Like, you can't not say his brand isn't synonymous with, black culture. You can't say his brand isn't synonymous with American culture. Because everybody enjoyed his product. But anyway, before we go moving on to the next article, we're going to give our brother Wallace Wally Amos a moment of silence. All right, rest in power, brother. Projecting love, light, healing energy to the his family, friends, associates, and everybody that he meant something to in life. And celebrating his ascension. So yeah, definitely impactful, definitely motivational, inspirational. What you could be if you focus and stay on the path. Not only did he sell cookies, he also had a little short acting stint. He was on The Jeffersons. He made a cameo on The Jeffersons. He also made a cameo on, I believe, Taxi. And then I think The Love Boat as well, if I'm not mistaken. You can hit his IMB up. He did a few films too. He been on a couple television shows. But anyway, on to the next article. Next article on this weekday edition of the Narrator Podcast, the headline reads, 4 black entrepreneurs announce 13,000 square feet event space and community center in historic Phoenix building. It's a non-profit collective called the Anchorwood Exchange Acres. It was founded by Henry Dickerson, Havana Love, Ali Nevis, and Stacy Best Nevis. They started the nonprofit to uplift businesses in their community. The Arnold Pickled House is located in the downtown Phoenix area of Archwood at the east side. It'll be the epicenter of culture, education, art, entrepreneurship. It will also serve as the home for several other nonprofit organizations. It will contain a business incubator, educational facilities, multi-purpose movement studies, and event spaces. So basically, it's going to just be, like they said, the hub of, nonprofit organization activities. I'm curious about the movement studio. I'm curious about what that means. What do they mean, movement studio? Well, to satisfy my curiosity and to satisfy yours as well, you can visit them at anchorwoodexchange.com. And for press inquiries, contact Acres at archwoodexchange.com or call them directly at 915 241-0708. And that is the Archwood Exchange. Give a Warren Narrator podcast round of applause for our brothers and sisters that made that possible. I'm not going to read all their names again. All right, next article, the headline reads, Friends behind sold out black-owned Pop-Tarts brand, Bop-Tarts. The friends' names are brothers named by the name of John Gray, Pierre Saris, Leslie Walker. They're all from the Bronx borough of New York City. Their product was inspired just by the type of snacks they used to eat growing up. I'm guessing in bodegas, if we're talking NYC, their go-to snacks from bodegas, which was Pop-Tarts, I'm guessing. Now, it's controversial because they said Bop-Tarts. And so if you're familiar with the street gangs of Los Angeles, you know about the Bloods and the Crips. So the Crips, they speak using all C's, and Bloods speak using all B's. So they named their brand Bop-Tarts. I'm guessing they changed, they had to rebrand it and just, called it pastries on the website, but, in the article, for some odd reason, it still refers to as the Pop-Tart pastries as Bop-Tarts. I don't know. It's just like it was a short article. It didn't say, the ins and outs of it. But, yeah. So they not only have pastry oven confectionaries. Keep saying pastry. Toaster confectionery treats. They also have maple syrup and other stuff on their website. So go over to ghettogastro.com to see their full array of products and support their toaster confectionery treats, Bop-Tarts. All right, moving right along. Last article here this week on this weekday edition of the Narrative Podcast. The headline reads, Black couple launches new gaming company with limited editions spades playing cards to support communities. Check. And the couple's name is LeVar and Shannon Landsberg. They established the company in 2014, and it's called Premium Spades. The exclusive decks are available now and featured a limited edition upright card box featuring classic Black American and Afro-Caribbean flags. To find out more about the product, go to premiumspades.com. For For press-related inquiries, go to sales@premiumspades.com. Contact SJ. And so there were some really nice playing decks. I gotta say, I went to the website, checked it out. Definitely worth getting. I think they're trying to, like, the angle for their product is they're trying to make it, seem elegant and refined. But in our households, a game of spades, you can mess around and lose your life in a game of spades. Like, we be taking spades super serious in our community. Like, you can mess around and fight somebody, get in a physical fight at somebody's house over a game of spades. Like, for real, we do not be playing about them spades, boy. But go check their brand out called Premium Spades. Let's give Warm Narrative podcast round of applause for LeVar and his lovely wife, Shannon Landsberg. All right, so that's it for my positive news articles this week. I'm on to my commentary section now. And in this section, what I do is I talk about, breaking news, things I feel we need to discuss as a people, whether it be globally, nationally, or just something out of our community we need to talk about. So that's what this section is about. Now I call it Speaking Point. My speaking point section, usually I have 2 or 3 things to talk about. Sometimes I only have one thing to talk about. Sometimes I don't have anything to talk about. And then the rare occasions where I don't have anything to comment on is about what's going on in the news, I just do a PSA type deal, just things I notice in our community that we do as a people that we probably should be aware of and work on. And by we, I also mean me as well. But tonight I actually do have a trending topic, something that has happened in our community that we need to shed a light on, or I feel people's not really talking about enough about. This was the untimely demise of another brother. This time he was in police custody. He was incarcerated at a county jail in Texas. Torrent County Jail, to be precise. He passed away, or he got unalived on April 21st of this year. And the brother's name is Anthony Johnson, not to be confused with the MMA fighter or the football player. There's a football player named Anthony Johnson. None of them two. This is an ex-military vet. He served in the Navy, so he is a Navy military vet. Now, no information that surfaced, or I couldn't find any information that surfaced of why he was incarcerated in the first place, but he was incarcerated. How he got unalived was, it was basically what is called, in the penal system as a shakedown. And in shakedowns, what they do is they check rooms and inmates for contraband, anything they consider contraband. So you're not supposed to be having a whole lot of stuff, like anything that you really can't get on their commissary is considered contraband. So like certain types of foods and certain types of candy and certain types of pictures, you can't be not supposed to have naked pictures of your girl and all that, that's considered contraband. Certain types of grooming products they consider contraband. Definitely no drugs. So you can't have people bring you like drugs and stuff. But anyway, so it was a shakedown. They was looking for contraband, and according to the article, a few of the officers got a little too rough, and Johnson's military training kicked in because they was trying to handle him overly rough, and he was using self-defense tactics. They was trying to use chokeholds, and he was like, getting out of it using like judo takedowns, like giving him hip tosses and stuff. They was trying to subdue him overly forcefully. It's making news now because the cell phone footage of it. There's been some cell phone footage leaked of the incident in question. So charges have been filed by the Johnson family. His death was ruled a homicide. So the officers involved were Officer Rafael Marino and Lieutenant Joe Garcia. They were both indicted on murder charge by a grand jury on Tuesday. This is older news, but newer developments have happened. Some other deputies has recently, they've been charged as well. So something else that was interesting in the thing, the officers trying to subdue him, put a knee in his back, as they typically do, the COs. And then at one point he yelled out, "I can't breathe." And so where have we heard that one before? Then it also goes on to say, their rebuttal was he was, displayed superhuman strength and started wrestling with him. That wasn't superhuman strength. That was just his old military training. They teach, people in the, I don't know if the officer knew that when you go to the armed forces that they train you in mixed martial arts. They train you in judo, they train you in hapkido and all that. So he was using his military training to resist his unlawful chokehold. So eventually they wrestled him to the ground, put a knee in his back. Another interesting thing about this, in the autopsy results, and its cause of death, it was ruled it was through mechanical and chemical asphyxia. That means they suffocated him. They basically tried to use a chloroformed rag, that's what that means, over his mouth. So the family wants to know why more people weren't implicated and why. The police took the Johnson into custody 2 days before, saying he was standing in an intersection wielding a knife at a driver. That's why he ended up in jail in the first place. His family says, again, mental health which is understandable because he's ex-military, so there's not too many ex-military vets that are quote-unquote, air quotes, normal, functioning with, no psychological trauma. So they have since then reinstated the officers for duty, and they're awaiting trial. So they're still getting paid. They're still allowed to work. They have not been arrested yet. It's also interesting, the wheels of justice always seem to turn slowly for our people. This happened in April. They're just now releasing the cell phone footage of the officers engaging in this unlawful act. Not even officers, they're COs. Why are they protecting COs? COs are just regular people like you and I. They just work at the jailhouse. They don't have no, history in law enforcement. They're not police officers. They just work, just regular people that happen to work at, the county jail. It's just basically like people that work in a nursing home. It's the lack of respect for me, because they're just, the tone of the police chief, or the one presiding, the warden presiding over the whole thing is just like, it's just so matter-of-factly, the tone of his voice. And now they're trying to switch it up and say, oh, we don't condone none of that, and we saw some things in the tape that we don't agree with, and da-da-da-da. It's just like, they just really feel entitled to take our lives. But like I said, that's the reason why I brought this up, because I don't feel people are talking about that enough on their timelines. I know we got a whole lot of stuff happening every day. Something's happening in some neighborhood in the world. We never catch a break from it. It's impossible to stay up to date with everything, but stories like this we can't let slip through the cracks. We definitely can't let Sonya Macy slip through the cracks. We definitely can't let our brother Roger Fortson, also, an ex-military vet, slip through the cracks. Like, I'm starting to sense a trend. Like, why are they targeting ex-military vets? Those of us that served in the military, like, why are they targeting people in our community that serve for this country that don't love them? So yeah, they're gonna say what they're gonna say. I don't know what prosecutor is covering the case for the family. I know Ben Crump is doing Sonya Macy and Fortson. If they don't have a high-profile attorney, 99% of the, most likely to go in between the cracks. So it's kind of up to all of us to keep up with stories like this, so we can use our platforms to make other people aware of them. So all the content creators, y'all can do y'all's TikToks and stuff about this, but we definitely have to keep a vigilant on we got to keep a vigilant on our people, because if we don't put these types of stories out, we'll just forget them. And like I hate to say it, I think the only reason why, we rebelled for Ahmaud and our brother George Floyd is because we was in lockdown and we didn't have any choice. We just kept on seeing these images of us getting unalived, and that, unfortunately, because we don't have no other choice but to look at it, that's the only way we want to care. That's the only way the world wants to care. Like, this happens every day in our community. Every single day, it's either law enforcement or just some random person that don't look like us unaliving us. But anyway, so just if you listen to this episode, make sure you put it on your timeline, whatever platform you occupy. The latest one, Brother Anthony Johnson, that actually happened before Fortson and Massey, that nobody's really talking about. Put that on your timeline, make that known. We got to keep stories like that circulating and just letting them know, yeah, we heard about that, we're not letting it slide. Because if we, give that energy of, we're letting it slide, they'll let it slide. We can't let this slide, y'all. So, if you hear this, share it on your platform. Anthony Johnson was the brother's name. He was only 31 years old. So, having said that, I'm going to end this episode here. Join me this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator Podcast, wherever it's podcast information from. Download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrator Podcast. The best way to keep up to date with my newest episodes of the Narrator Podcast is to follow me either on YouTube or X. You want to follow me on those two mediums, because on those two mediums, my episodes get automatically uploaded to those two mediums. So I'm Halsey Allen on YouTube. You want to hit the subscription button and notification bell, and you'll be notified to all my latest uploads of the Narrative Podcast. And then also follow me on X. I stay good at Halsey Allen, and still not fully aware of how the notifications for X happens. Still not too proficient with that platform. I'm trying to get proficient with it. Like, I wasn't proficient when it was Twitter, so I'm still trying to get the hang of it. But I guess you'll get some type of notification when new episodes premiere on X. And then the way you can also help the platform is click the download button, leave me a comment, and then share episodes of the Narrator Podcast to all platforms. And their like button is a little heart button, so click that heart button. That equals, clicks. If you know, you know. So the best way to do all those options that I said is, click the Narrative Podcast link on X. Because YouTube, all you're going to be able to do is just listen to the episode and share it, which is also good. But to like it, comment on it, and share it to other platforms, you need to click the Narrative Podcast link on X. So go to my profile and do that. I stay good on Halsey Allen, and that's how you help the platform grow. Thanks for everybody that consistently does that on a consistent basis. Thank you. But download this episode and our previously recorded episodes of the Narrative Podcast. Join me either tomorrow or Friday for another episode of the Narrative Podcast. I'm debating on which day. For a weekday episode upload of the Narrative Podcast, but this weekend for sure for a full episode of the Narrative Podcast. Next thing that I want to plug is my book of poetry. I've written a book of poetry titled The Black Card. The Black Card is available on poetizer.com. Poetizer.com has a virtual online bookstore where people in that community can write books and sell them. So backing it up a bit, The Black Card is a 30-page book of poetry. It's unique because it's an all-encompassing look about who we are as a people. It's about, who we are and everything that we go through as a people. So it's an interesting, unique look at us as a people. A snapshot or a day in the life of / survival card. You definitely would love reading that. If you're an original man or original woman, you can definitely relate to, all the poems featured in that book. If you're, somebody don't look like us outside of our culture, if you consider yourself progressive or open-minded and like learning about different cultures, this is definitely a book for you. So you will find something to enjoy about it, something that will enlighten you and broaden your horizons. So yeah, go pick that up. It's on poetizer.com. They have a virtual online bookstore. If you're unfamiliar with Poetizer, Poetizer is a community for aspiring writers, writing at the novice level. Not quite professional. Some professionals use that platform to write books because it's cost effective. They have their services are very moderately priced. So definitely affordable, more affordable than Kindle, more affordable than Amazon, more affordable than all those other self-publishing sites. But essentially, it's basically like a blog site for writers of all genres. Novel writing, short stories, even essay writing. Even if you just want to just pen open letters or journal, that's welcome on that, site. But the preferred genre of writing that it caters to is poetry writing. It's implied because, it's in the name, Poetizer. And so what they do is they have a feature which will allow the people that participate in that community the opportunity to transform their art into a book. And so that's what I did. On poetizer.com, I turned my art into a book. It's called the Black Card. Go purchase it today. Visit poetizer.com. Visit their virtual online bookstore and look for my title, The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen. It'll make a great book, coffee table read, travel book, gift, whatever. But just go pick it up today. The Black Card, written by me, Halsey Allen. Purchase your copy today or get your Black Card revoked. Last thing I want to plug is my personal poetry blog on blogger.com. What that is it's a collection of my own personal poetry. It's unique because, it has tons of relatable poetry. First of all, I wrote every single poem on that blog in the spur of the moment, off the cuff. I didn't contemplate on the title or the subject matter. It's also unique because the subject matter and, is so detailed and intentional and so well crafted. You would think that I just, drafted it first before posting, but I didn't. I just did it in the spur of the moment. So to get all that complexity from just, a random thought you know, that's very rare, and you know, you will enjoy reading that. My poems are completely relatable. I have a variety of topics that I write about on that blog site. And like I said, they're completely random, in no order. Like, no preconceived thoughts enter my mind before writing. Now, I do have poems on there specifically, for our community, but for the most part, it's for anybody. Everybody can relate to them. It's poems everybody that can feel anything can relate to them. So go check that out. As a matter of fact, the tagline for my blog is called Hallzies Poetry Corner, Poetry with a Passion, Poetry for All Occasions. And when you read one of the poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner, you will find out just how much they live up to that tagline. They're really that diverse and really that versatile. It can appeal to everybody from all walks of life. You will love it. Go check it out. And the way you support that is go to, Hallzies Poetry Corner on blogger.com, at www.mrhallziesblogs.com, and share either the link to Hallzies Poetry Corner, www.mrhallziesblogs.com, or a poem featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms, as well as hitting that little heart-shaped button icon. That's the like button on that platform, and then share the poems across all platforms. And then you can also leave me a comment. You can comment on each poem when you come to the site. But however you choose to support Hallzies Poetry Corner, just support it. Share the link or my poems across all platforms. The visual users like Instagram and YouTube, you might want to shout out the link or a poem that you liked on Hallzies Poetry Corner. Just to let the world know about the blog, and that'll do it. That's all I got to plug. Support all my projects. Check out Hallzies Poetry Corner. Share poems featured on Hallzies Poetry Corner across all platforms. Purchase my book, The Black Card, and join me this weekend for another full episode of the Narrator Podcast. Tune in today or tomorrow for another weekday upload of the Narrator Podcast. Well, that's it, and that's all. Talk to you soon. With your help, we are going to change this narrative, about how we're falsely portrayed and perceived in the media. It's going to take all of us working together to do that, but it's an obtainable goal. We will do that. We will change the narrative. I'm Halsey Allen. I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time. And I'm asking you to help me change the narrative by becoming a narrator. And while I'm changing the narrative one episode at a time on my end, as a narrator, you can help me change the narrative on your end one social media post at a time. Until next time, Halsey Allen, the Narrative Podcast, signing off. And it's like that.
listening to the Narrative Podcast with Halsey Allen. The Narrative Podcast is changing the narrative one episode at a time.